In 1998, Ford found itself staring down a moment it hadn't planned for, but it also couldn't ignore. NASCAR was turning 50. The American motorsport was hitting its golden anniversary, and Ford, well, they had just unveiled the most radical redesign of its best-selling F-150 in decades. This wasn't just the perfect marketing window, it was a time for cultural alignment, a chance to fuse two icons of American grit together. Ford's production trucks and NASCAR firepower, all right around the turn of the new millennium. There was just one problem. The big bad performance truck that Ford wanted to build on the new 10th generation F-150 platform wasn't ready yet. The iconic second-gen SVT Lightning was still over a year out. But this opportunity, it couldn't wait. So Ford pivoted and built this, the NASCAR 50th Anniversary F-150. This wasn't a full-bred performance monster. Rather, it was a celebration piece for the 5 decades of the iconic motorsport that culminated the best that the Earnhardt era of NASCAR had to offer in one intimidating street truck package that you could row your own gears in. Now, 1998 wasn't just the 50th anniversary of NASCAR. It was also a crucial time for the F-150. The beloved boxy 9th gen trucks had bowed out of the market in 96, and in their place was a smoother, more aerodynamic 10th generation design that was launched in 1997. It was a bold stylistic leap that didn't land with every fan due to its overt smoothness rather than the rugged, square designs that were normally used in the trucks. But while Ford focused on the future, they overlooked something massive. Not only was it NASCAR's 50th anniversary, but it was also the Ford F-Series pickup's 50th anniversary too. Ford had kind of missed the moment to plan something monumental, but they weren't about to just let it pass them by completely. The timing was just too perfect between the two. And nowadays, in the late 90s, the new F-150 was gaining traction not just as a tool, but as a lifestyle vehicle, thanks to a cultural shift where trucks were being looked at as less utilitarian. Especially down south, where Ford loyalty ran deep in certain pockets, trucks were more popular there than anywhere else, and it was also where NASCAR wasn't just a sport, it was almost a religion. The overlap was too great to ignore, but the perfect truck for that moment didn't exist, yet. A true performance F-150, the kind that could carry NASCAR's name with real heat, was still in development. Now, the original SVT Lightning had already proved what Ford could do when it cranked the dial. From 1993 to 1995, the first-gen Lightning had burst out of showrooms with the 5.8-liter V8 making 240 horsepower and 340 foot-pounds of torque. It brought muscle truck swagger to the Ford lineup after the Chevy 454 SS pickup had already launched. The Lightning would have been the perfect match for this extra NASCAR branding, or at least as an option for that 50th anniversary trim package. But the old Lightning was built on that boxy 9th generation chassis, and by 98, that platform was gone. The new 10th gen F-150 had a completely different frame, new suspension, and a new styling philosophy. Dropping the old performance gear into the new body wasn't just impractical, it would have been a disaster. Nothing fit, nothing really translated, and Ford was now committed to their overhead cam modular V8 architecture rather than the pushrod motors of old, like the 5.8s. And the next Lightning, the one that we all know with the Eaton supercharged 5.4-liter V8, which made 360 horse, wouldn't hit showrooms till 99. So what Ford had to do was kind of reach into SVT's bag of tricks and pull out what they could for their own NASCAR tribute truck. The NASCAR tribute trucks started as two-wheel drive, single-cab, short-bed F-150s. Under the hood, they gave it the most potent engine that was available for a standard F-150 that year, which was the 4.6-liter single overhead cam V8, which was the same one that you'd find in the Lariat trim pack. It made 220 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds of torque. Not earth-shattering numbers by any means, but respectable for the era and displacement. Buyers could spec it with either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic, which was a key distinction from the second-gen Lightning, which would only ever be offered in an automatic. If you wanted a manual muscle truck from Ford, this would be at the top of your list and was really the only option. Out back, in the spirit of performance, Ford installed a 373:1 rear axle ratio, offering a snappier response and better off-the-line feel. And just like the original SVT Lightning, they dropped the suspension on these NASCAR trucks by an inch for a more planted stance and a touch of that street truck flair. But where the NASCAR edition really stood apart was in the looks department. Ford teamed up with Roush for some unique hardware, including a lower front air dam, a stainless steel side exit exhaust that gave the truck that race-inspired boom tube style without going full character mode. Then when it came to the wheels, they were custom made for this truck. They were sharp, black painted 10-spoke D-window alloys with some bold Goodyear Eagle lettering on the tires to match. In terms of bringing that NASCAR style to a street legal application, this was about as close as they could get to the actual NASCAR wheel and tire combo. And for me, these wheels are what totally complete the package. I think if they went with like a chrome 5-spoke or something like that, it would have looked really weird, but these old school D windows look so good. Bedside NASCAR graphics and a flush fitting tonneau cover, and the result was one of the most distinctive F-150s ever sold new. It was undeniably tasteful. It would have been so easy to build this truck into some overdone vanity ordeal, but Ford nailed it on the exterior. They did just enough. On the inside, there was a gray interior with adjustable seats and lots of legroom. The gauges were all the standard F-150 fare, plenty of functional info with very little wasted space. All the standard headrests were replaced with ones that had the NASCAR logo embroidered on them, and they added NASCAR branded floor mats too. Aside from that, the interior trim was comparable to the XL trim pack for that year, which was a very functional interior. All of those additions came at a significant price though, with the NASCAR Edition F-150 selling for just under $22,000 new, which was significantly more than the base model F-150 at around $16,000. But it was also way less than the future Lightning, which was $29,000. And no, this wasn't a Lightning. There was no supercharger whining under the hood and no crazy power figures. But that's exactly what I think makes this truck special in its own right. It's pure. It was built to celebrate heritage. It was a naturally aspirated V8, a manual transmission that you could shift yourself, and it had enough factory flair just to be unique and tie into that racing heritage without overdoing it. And it was rare too. Only 3,000 of these trucks were ever produced. Now, had the Lightning been ready in time for 1998 and that 50th anniversary of NASCAR, the story I'm telling here might have been different. But maybe this version is more meaningful because it didn't give us an up-badged Lightning that most people couldn't afford new. NASCAR was a sport for the everyman, and this truck was more in line with that than the second-gen Lightning ever was. Just some food for thought. Let me know in the comments down below if you've ever heard of the 98 NASCAR F-150s, because that concludes my video on them. Hope you guys had as much fun watching this as I did recording it. Please make sure to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. But I will see you all next time, enthusiasts.